Before we dive in today, I want to thank Bioness for supporting this episode. Today's conversation features one of their patients, but more importantly, it's a story about resilience and recovery. This is not a paid testimonial, just an honest look at one person's journey and the role technology played along the way. Alyssa Van Steen was 31 when a rare bacterial infection attacked her heart valve, leading to a hemorrhagic stroke and eventually open heart surgery. What followed was months in hospital, relearning how to walk, speak, and function with her dominant side offline. This conversation isn't about easy answers, it's about the days that don't get better overnight. It's about the kind of fatigue you can't sleep off. And it's about what it means to rebuild your life when the world thinks you're better, but your body still knows the truth. If you're in it right now, if recovery feels heavy, endless, or invisible, Alyssa's story might be the reminder you didn't know you needed. Let's get into it. Alyssa Van Steen, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Tell me a little bit about what life was like for you before stroke.
Um, Life with before stroke, actually, so I was 31 when it happened, and um, I was just working and I don't know, just doing my life. I think I was at a point where I think in like your 30s, you kind of know, like, okay, this is who I am now, and I kind of was like getting that sense, right before everything happened. So I was in a good place in my life when things happened.
What kind of work were you doing?
Just our local grocery store down the street. Yeah.
So you're very locally focused in the community. I imagine that's
Mhm.
pretty rewarding meeting the locals. Everyone knows you, you know them. Is it a small type of community? What's it like?
Um, it's smaller, but I'm still in Orange County in California, so I mean, it's busy. There's a lot to do. And but the where I live is a little bit more slower and family driven. But yeah, the grocery store that I work at is the more sought out, I think the sought after grocery store. So it's busy, busy. Yeah.
And what did you do for downtime? Did you have some stuff that you did on a regular basis that you enjoyed doing, getting out and about? How did you occupy your time other than work?
So other than work, I am an artist. So I work with cut pieces of paper and I'll do like hand painted and cut them out and I did that as well for work as well. I was on the in the art department for my work as well. Um and so that was kind of like what I spent a lot of my time with as well as um gardening. I'm a big gardener and yeah, I've transformed my yard, the front yard and the backyard many times. Um, so yeah, and then other than that, I love to walk my dog. My dog's a 75-pound dog, and so he needs a lot of walks, and I love to walk him. So that was yeah, that's where I was at right now.
Your walk dog's you or you walk your dog?
Oh, my dog,
Yeah,
yeah.
but it's if it's a 75-pound dog, you're not walking it. It's telling you what
Oh,
to do, right?
yeah. No, he's a good listener.
Yeah,
But
he's a good boy.
yeah, yeah.
Fair enough. So did you study the arts?
I didn't. I actually went to school to become a teacher. And I graduated and I ended up kind of thinking like, oh, that's not really what I want to do. So I was like, oh, I'm just gonna do work and I'm just gonna do my art on the side and garden and do my thing. And yeah, that's where I was at.
It was just like a hobby that turned into something that you were getting paid to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
hmm
So tell me, do you recall the time when at 31 something went wrong? How did that day unfold? What happened?
Yeah. So, my stroke happened, um, on, well, I guess all before everything happened, it was, April 23rd was the first day that I went into the hospital. So it was about a day and a day, maybe a day and a half before, um, April 3rd that I just kind of started to feel like I was sick. And I have had COVID before, and it really felt very much like COVID. I had body aches, I had chills, I had a migraine and no appetite. And I am someone that I have had migraines my whole entire adult life, where I've had anywhere from like 3 to 4 a week. And it was always under control pretty much, where it was just kind of like, this is just what happens. Like my mom gets migraines. Um, and it was just like, oh, some people just have a more prone or yeah, they're just more prone
More
to it.
prone
And
to it, yeah.
so yeah. And so um but this migraine didn't feel like any other migraine I've ever felt in my whole entire life. This was a migraine that I was trying to take like an ibuprofen just to like help. And I was screaming and crying on my floor. Like I didn't know what to do. So it was that evening that my mom took me to the urgent care to see what was going on. And urgent care basically just gave me a shot of ibuprofen and sent me on my way. And I could like barely walk in. It was so excruciating. I never want to ever experience that type of migraine. It was crazy. So when I got home, my mom was trying to get me to eat and I just couldn't. And so she ended up like having to like spoon feed me spaghetti because I just couldn't even like lift my arms. It was weird. And that was the last thing that I remember. I remember her feeding me spaghetti in the dark because I couldn't take any kind of lights. Um, and the next thing that I remember, I'm waking up in a hospital bed.
Wow.
So what had happened was my my blood pressure went super low, and I guess I was starting to scream and be incoherent, I guess. And that's when my mom and my brother had to uh call for an ambulance. Um and they also were saying that my heart rate was very high. Um and so it was about 2 days in the hospital where we were just testing and testing, like, um, and we couldn't figure out what it was, what happened. And I was still having like constant migraines. It wasn't that same migraine, but it was migraines, right? Um, I started to have a bladder infection. My kidneys were failing. They were talking about it was possibly MS. Um, it was just I was on oxygen. It was like I was starting to go septic. It was just like nuts.
Intense.
And yeah, and so it took a couple of days. Um no, it was actually 2 weeks where I was in the hospital, and we found out what it was. So basically, I had a infection that was attached to my heart valve. So it was a rare bacterial infection that went into my bloodstream and attached itself to my heart valve, and it was deteriorating my heart valve.
Mm-hmm.
And so um, it it was they were like, okay, well, we can get some strong antibiotics to help this, and we probably don't have to go in for heart surgery or anything. We could probably just like kill it on the spot. And so that's what we were doing. So we stayed in the hospital. I was on antibiotics for a couple of times a day, very strong. It was like making my hair fall out. It was crazy.
Wow.
Um, so that was, and they were kind of now looking like, okay, this is the problem. And then you're having mini strokes and there's lacerations on your brain. Um, And so I was like, okay, so this is, but they were like, but we're killing the bacteria, so we'll be okay. So um, it was a while, and then I had to. It was May 1st is when they were like, okay, you can go home, and what we can do, you still have to be on antibiotics for a couple, like another 6 weeks or something. But we can have a nurse come out and um, once or twice a day and do your injection and then or whatever or the drip and um, you'll be fine. Like you can go home. And we are like, okay, so I'm getting ready to go home. We're waiting to be discharged, and I went up to go to the bathroom. And I was like, and I was feeling better. I was starting to feel better too. So I was like, okay, like I'm like things are looking up. Wasn't on oxygen or anything like that anymore. Um, and so I went up to go to the bathroom. We're waiting for it to be discharged. And I come back from the bathroom and I was like, I feel kind of weird. And my mom was in the room and she's like, what do you mean? And I was like, I don't know, like something's weird and I don't know how to like describe it. And she's like, okay, well, sit down. Let's have the nurse come in. The nurse comes in. She's like kind of checking me out. All of a sudden, my whole right side gets super heavy and I know exactly what it is. I was like, I'm having a stroke. And I've never had any type of scare with like stroke or anything, but I just knew, like, I knew that happens with stroke.
Let's pause for a moment. You've just heard Alyssa describe one of the hardest pivots of her life, from being days away from discharge to suddenly realizing she was having a stroke. Her right side went heavy, her speech disappeared, her world flipped. If you've been through something like that, the suddenness, the shock, the feeling of your body no longer responding, I want you to know you're not alone. You're not broken, you're rebuilding. Alyssa's recovery involved layers of trauma, rehab, and fatigue, and most people never see it. And like many stroke survivors, she faced something called foot drop, that dragging, uncooperative feeling that makes every step harder than it should be. If you're dealing with that, there's a device that might help, the Binus system. It's not fit for everyone, but there's a free 1 hour trial you can try. No pressure, just a chance to see if it works for your recovery. You can schedule it at locations across the United States. Now let's get back to Alyssa as she starts to make sense of the stroke, the aphasia, and the first steps towards healing.
And so um, once they kind of were like, I said, I'm having a stroke, it was like gangbusters. Everyone came in. There was like people were moving me around. And then they took me to what do you call it? I can't think of it. Uh, to test your brain. Uh,
MRI. MRI.
MRI. Thank you. Yeah. I remember going into the MRI machine and I don't remember coming out. Um, and so I had had a hemorrhagic stroke, and it affected my right side. I wasn't talking much when I woke up from my stroke. And a lot of this is like things that I've had to be filled in from my family members
Mhm.
because I don't remember a lot of it.
Mhm.
I remember bits and pieces of when you're in the hospital, but you don't remember it like it happened. And it almost it remembers, I remember it in like little seconds here and there,
Mhm.
but I can't say that like this second happened before this one, and then this one was, it's just scattered.
Mhm.
Um, so I wasn't really talking. I could say like yes or no, um, but I couldn't do much more than that. Um, I couldn't say my name when after a couple of days, they were trying to get me to say my name, and I just said my birthday and that went on for a couple of days as well, where I just, what's your name? November 17th, 1991. Like it's just, um, so there was that. And yeah, um,
Pretty
so that
heavy.
was, yeah. So
W-
it was a lot. It was
What
I
was
had
going through your mind at the time? So before that, you're having a migraine. They come, they go. No big deal. Go into a dark room, bit of ibuprofen, things settle down. But then you went on this ridiculously wild journey in that time, and then at some point the news is getting worse and worse and worse, and then you think you're on the way out and back home, and then you have a hemorrhagic stroke. Like, what are you thinking? Are you able to comprehend what is going on? Are you going, how the hell did I end up here? What's going on in your mind during that time?
I don't think I really like clued in that this big thing happened until like maybe a week or two later when I was kind of like, oh, this happened to me. I think also like I was also transferred to a different hospital after I went onto the MRI machine. They transferred me to another hospital that was specifically for like stroke patients.
Mm.
Um, and I just I don't know if it was a combination of, because when you have a stroke, I feel like when I woke up, my brain was like scrambled eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Like it just didn't, there was no like way to like sort out what I couldn't even say in my mind, like what's happening to me. Like I couldn't even say that. It was just everything was broken. Um, yeah, and it took me a long time for me to be like, oh, okay, like this is what happened.
Mm.
And I also had and I had aphasia as well.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so that was like really difficult for me to try to even try to talk because it wouldn't really come out. I would say things and I could say like one little thing. I couldn't say like a sentence, or I couldn't even say like three things, three three words in the order. I could only say like one or two things. So it was difficult to like have my family talk to me and me
Communicate back.
respond.
Yeah.
And yeah.
So so it sounds like life after stroke changed dramatically, right? What was like, what was it like? What could you do? What could you not do? How did your body feel? What deficits did you have? How did it change?
Um, well, I couldn't walk anymore. Couldn't go to the bathroom by myself anymore. My whole right side was completely numb and limp. So it it wasn't until so they kept me I kind of went moving floors, ICU and different things uh and then they were like, I think because her age and the type of stroke that I had, they were like, you would do really well on a rehab floor. And so I was like, okay, like, and I do remember actually kind of saying like, I just want to go home, like saying something like, I just want to go home. And my parents were like, no, no, you're going to go to the rehab floor because this is going to be better for you in the end. So like when you do go home, you need to be able to have a little bit like a leg up on your rehabilitation.
And
Um,
did your mum promise to bring you food and feed you pasta while you were at rehab?
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, my family was really good too. Also, like a little bit about me, I'm terrified of any type of doctor's office. So this whole thing was so already the fact that like I had to go into like an ambulance and I'm in the hospital was
All out of your
traumatizing in
comfort
enough.
zone.
Yes. And so I'm so squirmish around like needles or whatever. And so the whole time that I was at the hospital, my parents made it a priority to like, no matter what, like at least one person stays with Alyssa, whether it's just my parents or my brother. Like there is one person that will be there with her.
Can I unpack
Um,
a little bit? Just sorry to interrupt. Can I unpack a little bit?
mhm.
So my wife is not afraid of doctors and needles and all that kind of stuff. She doesn't really enjoy needles, etc. I'm the opposite, right? So I love doctors because doctors make you better. Because hospitals is where people go to have be patched up and fixed up and then sent home. So I don't get how people are afraid of doctors' surgeries, hospitals. Are you able to unpack that a little bit and just give me an insight so I can kind of understand it?
I think you know what? I think from my own experience, I can't really say about like my family that were also going through it with me. But for me, I think the only times I would ever be in a hospital was when I would be watching my grandparents die.
Okay,
And so I'm like, this is where people die.
got it.
And yeah.
Okay, all right. I completely get it. So I know that people have to pass away at a hospital from time to time, and that's kind of
Mhm.
where they end up. I get that. And I know what you're saying. So it's just literally, it's like your experience, probably also as you were younger with older grandparents, and you had to go and see that and experience that, go through
Mhm.
that process with them. Okay.
Yeah.
I totally get it now. I know exactly why. All right. Let's pick up on you're in hospital, mum's bringing you food, and everyone's staying with you. One person is staying with you all the time because of your experience.
Mhm.
Let's and then what?
So, I was on the rehab floor, um, and we were doing rehab, and that's, there's speech therapy, there's um, occupational therapy and physical therapy. And the way that it was set up in this hospital that they had a schedule put out for you the night before, and they'd say like 7 a.m. you're gonna have speech, and then at 7:30 you'd have and you're going. And I think because I was younger, they were like, we're gonna work her as much as she can. And I think when I got to the rehab floor is when I start to remember my memories. I don't remember a lot from before that, but I also was starting to talk a little bit more when I was on the rehab floor. Um, and it, so I remember being like, I'm here to work. Like,
Mm.
this is like, no, bring it. Like, you're gonna, um, if you want to have me like two different PT sessions in one day, like we're gonna do it. Like, let's do it. Um, and I was so like, I'm just like so grateful for the rehab floor and
Mm.
all of the people that work there because, oh my gosh, like it's crazy how much knowledge they have to fine tune little things for every little need that you might have.
So you
So it was
totally embraced it. So there's no
mhm,
denial of your condition. There's no
nothing.
none of that stuff. No resistance to uh, what you needed to do, the hard work that was coming up that you needed to do. You were just up for it.
But I also wasn't, you know what? It's funny because I really was just kind of focused on like right now. I wasn't thinking like,
Mm.
well, when I go home, what's going to happen? Am I going to walk when I go home? Like, I just didn't even think about that. I was just so focused on like, no, no, this is what's going on right now. Like, let's just focus on right now because I think I didn't even, there was a, like, towards the end of my stay, there was a moment where I was like, wait, I can't even, my right is my dominant hand. And I was like, I can't write I can't write right now. Like, and that's what I used to do for work, like write and draw
Mm.
and, cut paper. And like, I was like, I can't do that. And I remember breaking down and yeah, it was rough.
So at one
Um,
stage, at the majority of the time, you're going day by day. It's about focusing on the task at hand. I did something similar. I never once
mhm.
thought about what it would be like when I went home. When I went home, I
Yeah.
was more capable than I was when I started rehab. I could walk and I could use my left arm
Yeah.
again. They weren't perfect at all, but they were, I was still able to make breakfast and a cup of tea and that kind of stuff. So all the usual stuff were okay. I couldn't work. I properly couldn't work. Um, so it didn't occur to me at all, not once in my head, like I'm going to go home next week and I'm not going to go to work. I'm not going to do anything. I'm just going to
Mhm.
be at home waiting for more rehab. I had outpatient rehab to go through, but you had that realization. It was like the what now moment. Like how were you afraid that you weren't going to rehabilitate further, that you were going to be at home? What were the thoughts? What were the concerns in your head?
Yeah, because I was like, I can't even go to the bathroom by myself.
Mm,
Like,
okay.
like that didn't like I even when I got home, like I still didn't like I could go to the bathroom, but I had to have like someone watch like kind of watch me walk in,
Mm.
make sure I'm okay. Like it was not it yeah, there was so much more to go that I think it's better I think it was better for me to just stay focused on like what's going on today
Hmm.
because I think when I had that moment of like, wait, I can't even write my name. Like that just like destroyed me. Um, and so I worked and worked and worked. And I was also still being given the antibiotics,
Mm.
for the bacteria in my heart. And, it was not working. They, were saying that, well, we killed the germ, but it destroyed that heart valve. So you're going to have open heart surgery and you're going to have a valve replaced. And so I was like, and I think that day I was like, it was like, I think I only had one more thing on my to-do list and it was physical therapy and it was at the end of the day. And one of my doctors came in and was saying like, yeah, this is happening. Like we have to do it um sooner rather than later. You are going to have a lot of um restrictions and things that you can't do once you have the heart surgery. You're going to have to be on the cardiac floor for a week. You won't be able to raise your arms. You won't be able to push out of bed. And so there was so much in my head. I was like, I won't be able to do, I already have all of these restrictions with losing my right side. I can't even like I can't do things. I can't even get up out of bed. And now I have more restrictions. And it was like, it was really hard. And
Full on, full on. So, what kind of timeline did all this stuff happen? So, from that
yeah,
crazy headache to the um, bacteria being found, and by the way, I still have to ask you about the hemorrhagic stroke, then the hemorrhagic stroke, and then the heart valve surgery. What was the timeline?
so I went into the first hospital on April. And my heart surgery was on June 7th. So that whole time I was still in the hospital. So I was in the
Three
hospital
months.
for a while. Yeah.
Wow, 3 months.
Um, and so yeah, and I remember that day too when they told me about the heart surgery and I was really like distraught about it
Mm,
and I just knew I was like I don't want to go to physical therapy and that was the first and only time I've ever said no to one of
mm.
my therapies. And my mom was like, okay, when she was walking down the hall and she saw one of my therapists and she was like, she doesn't want to, she's really distraught. Like she doesn't really want to go. And she's like, okay, well, I'm still gonna like peek my head in like 30 minutes and see what happens. And she peeked her head in and she's like, how are you feeling? And I wiped my eyes. I'm like, let's go. Like, I was just like, nope, we're gonna go. And I ended up having the best session that day. I walked a lot more than usual. We did steps. So, like, it was just, and I think that was like, that was just like one of the things that really like solidified in my brain that like, you're gonna have to work hard, but the payoff is gonna be so much better
I love that.
if you
Yeah.
just keep going. And so I was just like, I mean, I was already in that headspace, but even when I was not wanting to do things, I was just like, you're never going to say no to any of this now. Like, I'm never going to say no to any of my therapies. I'm always going to try because even the things that you don't want to do is going to benefit you in one way or another, even if it's the smallest amount. So,
I love that. That's a
um,
great attitude to take into the next phase of your surgeries, of your medical interventions. We know what caused the heart valve issue. We know what caused the
mhm,
massive headache. It was the bacteria. What caused the
mhm.
brain hemorrhage?
So the heart valve was not pumping enough oxygen or blood to
Uh-huh.
my brain, and it caused me to have a stroke.
Did it cause an actual bleed in the brain?
Yes,
That's so bizarre. How would it do that?
I
I mean,
know.
maybe you don't
I
have the
don't
answer, but
know.
that's okay.
Yeah, I don't know. And it was also it was also like the infection was in my blood. It
Mm.
wasn't just in one place. So I
Uh-huh.
don't know if it was, yeah, I don't know. It was crazy.
Hmm.
And then the fact that like the type of stroke that I had, people would walk in like nurses and they'd be like, "Oh, this is not what I was expecting." And so I was like, "Oh, okay." And I didn't get it until I was out of the hospital where I was like, "Oh, a lot of people don't survive this type of stroke."
Mm.
Like hemorrhagic strokes are not like I think it's like 26 25%
Mm.
survival rate. And I was like, oh, okay, like now I get it. But at the
Mhm.
time I was like, what do you mean? Like,
It's a big
um,
deal that it's a big deal that treating a hemorrhagic stroke survivor, it is a big deal. The numbers are not that good in the favor.
Hmm.
Oh, they're not in the favor of the person having the hemorrhagic stroke, that's for sure.
Hmm.
So, you know, that last PT set or that therapy session that you had, uh, was that kind of like a mind shift? Was that a moment? Did that help you prepare better for the heart surgery? How did that change the way that you were going to tackle the heart surgery? Did it help?
It totally did. I think that was like, and that was when I was in that therapy section and I was working hard and I was having that revelation in my head afterward too. I was like, okay, like this is my one day of like, I'm like down in the dumps about having to have all these things happen to me. The next day I woke up and I was like, I'm ready. Like I'm ready. When's the surgery? Like let's do this. And up until I went into surgery, I was like in good spirits. I was like, people are they're gonna take care of me. Like this is what's gonna happen. I have to do it anyways. Let's just put a smile on and let's do it. Like, and we had, I had such a great team of people that were preparing me, and um, it was just, it was great. And then coming out of the surgery was really rough because open heart surgery actually does feel like you got hit by a truck. Um,
Is that
and
you opening up
mhm,
your rib cage? Uh-huh.
yes,
Proper.
yeah.
Wow.
So when I woke up, it was just like I could barely speak. I couldn't even like breathe without hurting. And it was intense. And the next day they get you like, you gotta stand up, you gotta be moving. And so I was like, okay, someone's gonna have to like help me up because I can't get up. And yeah, it was rough. I was in pain um
Mm,
for a while.
wow.
Um,
What was the biggest
yeah.
challenge that you faced during recovery after all of that stuff that you've been through? This was the last hurdle, a massive hurdle, but the last one. What was the what was the what was the hardest part about that recovery? What would you say?
I think uh, I don't know if anything really sticks out other than the
Mm,
fact that like I it was all very challenging
mm,
and it was but I don't have anything that really sticks out where I'm like that was the hardest because it was all hard to be
mm.
honest.
Wow.
And they were, and you know, when I went to the cardiac floor too, they were like sending physical therapists to make me walk around the halls, and I had like a pillow on my chest to make sure that like nothing was going to happen to my chest if anything, if I were to fall or using my walker, and I had my AFO at this time, and so I was able to walk. I every once in a while I'd have to sit down in a wheelchair and have to rest a little bit, but it was everything was doing well and my heart was everything was looking up. They had to put like a pig implant in my valve. So it's a pig valve that they put
Mhm.
my um and it's working great. So
You're one of those modern miracles, you know. Just the fact that
yeah.
you went through all of that stuff, a little bit of a piece of this here and a piece of this there, and a intervention here. I mean, everything that you went through to get to where you are today is an absolute medical miracle, is a religious miracle, whatever you want to call it. I don't mind what you call it. It's sensational, isn't it? That
Yes.
you went through all of that trouble and here you are. We're on a podcast. We're talking about it. I love it.
It really is, and I know, and I knew it from the very beginning because I didn't, I think it wasn't until I got home from the hospital that I was like starting to go through the ups and downs of coming home. You know, when you it's rough. And because I really did believe that I wasn't supposed to be here by the
Mm,
time I got home.
mm,
But in the hospital, I was like, no, no, like this is good. I can do this. But then when I got home, you know, life changes significantly. Like we have a tri-level house and I couldn't do the stairs. So we had to move
mm,
my bedroom downstairs and it was I was sleeping so much and like you know, it was hard for me to put on my shoes
mm.
and it was and there was so many I went home with 10 different medications. It was so rough. And you might know this too, like when because you had a little bit you had your left side was affected, right?
Yeah, yeah,
So when your the side that's affected tries to like come back online and your it almost feels like bugs are crawling up your
mm-hmm,
legs
mm-hmm.
or your arms, but it's painful.
Yeah. I used to get like little electrical shock things
Mhm.
happening, coming through, and like, I don't know, like zapping my hand and kind of trying to bring it to life, like, I don't know, like, yeah, I can't explain it. Like, there you go. It was just some electrical impulses that zapped my hand, made it feel like it was like there, and it was painful and it was annoying. But it wasn't constant, and it was twitchy. It would twitch, and that would happen. I would lie down sometimes in my bed sleeping, or just about to nod off, and then my entire left side would do this massive like jolt, and it would just move or something. It did heaps of
Yeah,
weird
that's
things when it was
crazy.
coming online, and I had to get my coordination back, and my left leg. I have numbness and sensory issues on my left side, and the muscles are tighter, and my left leg would buckle, so the knee would just kind of collapse and buckle when I walked. And then my eye, because up until from the age of 5 to 35, sorry, to 40, I wore glasses. And I was used to doing the old push up the glasses up your nose routine as they slide down, just push them up, push them up. And at 40, in June, on my 40th birthday, June, July, somewhere there, mid year, I had surgery, cataract surgery, to remove the cataracts in my eyes, to um, which then restored my vision, and I didn't need glasses. But I was used to pushing the glasses up my nose, and I kept doing that for a long time after I had finally gotten rid of the glasses. So in November 2014, this all happened in 2014, I had the brain surgery. My left side's not working properly, but I'm lying down in hospital, and I remember being in the rehab facility, and I go to fix my glasses, but because my coordination wasn't right, I poked myself in the eye. And then I would continue to poke myself in the eye regularly because I went to fix my glasses and missed the middle of my head and got it into my eyeball. So that took a little bit of getting used to, both the not fixing my glasses that weren't there and also dealing with the poking of my eye.
Yeah. I was so thankful I didn't have any kind of like facial anything with my stroke. I think it was like a day or two at like my stroke happened. I had a little bit of slight like downturning on my right side, but it kind of corrected itself, and so I was so thankful for that. But oh my gosh, the at night I would just feel like bugs were crawling and biting me on my
Mm,
right side, and it
mm,
was so painful. And my I was also like I also lost quite a bit of weight when I was in the hospital. So I was only about 100 pounds and I'm 5'8", so I'm pretty tall. So they were like, well, we can't give you any more medication. So you really just have to put a bunch of ice packs on you. So I was like laying in bed, just like a bunch of ice packs all over me, trying to sleep. Um, because that is just, it's so painful to have like your body is responding but doesn't know how to like come back online and like, hey, I'm here now. Like I was asleep, but I'm awake now, but they don't know how to react. So
Yeah.
oh,
Did you ever
that
have a
was so
pity party?
painful.
Did you ever do the pity party? Did you ever want to give up and say, "Oh, forget this, I'm not doing this anymore"? Did you ever have moments?
When I got home, yes, I had a lot of days where I was like throwing my cane around and like and I was just mad that this was my life now. I really like, and then like I go to like trying to wean myself off the medication, but the because I wanted to not have to take so much medication, and I would try to wean off of the medication, but then it wasn't working, so then I have to go back on it, or like I was trying to hold out, and I would just like collapse into like this breakdown where I was like, I didn't want to be here anymore. I really
Mm,
didn't want to live. I didn't want to live this type of life. Like I didn't think that I was supposed to be here anymore. Um, it took me like a good month to like get out of that headspace. I got home on um June 26th is when I got home. It took me a good month for me to like get out of that headspace.
mm. What year was
But
that?
2023.
It's very, very recent.
Yeah. So, but that I also I think I don't think that like I don't look back on like the little pity parties and say
Mm.
like, oh, I should have just like
Oh no.
sucked it up or anything because you
Ah,
have to go through that
yeah.
because but also like I wasn't saying like no, I'm not going to do therapy or like no, I'm not going to practice my hand movements. No, I'm not going to work with my Play-Doh today or like
Mm.
whatever like I was like I still did all that, but I
So it's more
did
of an
have,
expression of your
yeah,
frustration and the realization that I'm in this completely different world than I was 3 months ago.
yeah, because I was like, how am I supposed to like go to work? How am I supposed to do anything? Like, how am I
Mm.
supposed to? I don't know how long this is gonna last. Like,
Mm.
because in the hospital, I was kind of like, I think I got the idea of like, no, no, I can do this. Like, it'll, I think the misconception with like strokes, I think if you haven't had one yourself or if you haven't had a loved one had it, had one, you're under this impression of like, oh, okay, oh well, he's driving again, so it just comes back. Like, or you're walking again, so it just comes back. It doesn't. It doesn't just come back. You have to find new pathways in your brain to now learn how to walk, learn how to drive, learn how to talk. It doesn't just come back.
And I, and often not in the same way that you had it before. It's not the same.
Mhm.
It's a different version. And it's usually different on one side of your body, which makes you focus on the difference. Like my left side feels like this, my right side feels like that. For me, that's kind of the part that's still kind of I grapple with. It's like I wake up in the morning, I got to get out of bed. My right side's up and awake and ready to go. My left side still needs another half an hour. That's why when we connected at
Yes.
around 8 o'clock Melbourne time, I was still
Mhm.
half asleep because literally half asleep. How about that?
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
because my left side just it doesn't want to move at the same pace as my right side. Actually, doesn't want to do that at the same pace. Needs a lot longer. My leg needs to wake up, so that it does come back and everything. appears normal to me if people look at me. But yeah,
That's so funny that you said that because that's like that is so what you feel like. Even today when I got up, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm so tired," but I'm like ready to wake up, but like I need to lay down a little bit longer. And
mm,
there's days where like I'm getting ready for work and I'm like I have to sit down. Like I can't just like get up and go like I used to. Like I have
mm.
to like take it easy. You need to like have rest days.
Those
So,
running late days, right? Where you used to wake up, no breakfast, throw your clothes on,
yeah.
either jump in the car or walk to the train station or wherever, and just go to work, no big deal, and just it's just another day. Uh, they they don't happen for me like that. I've got to be
No.
up. I've got to have time. I've got to settle into the day before I even get started. It takes a while. I'm
Mhm.
curious. So you would have been. You sound like you were a person who had a bit of a social life. You would have had friends. You would have had people in your life other than work. Uh, then you're in hospital for 3 months. How do your relationships change? Did some people step up extraordinarily? Like, what happened there with your personal life?
I think that I'm I have a lot of family friends, but I have two really good friends that they were actually on a cruise when all of this was happening.
Oh my gosh.
And so, and they were like, you know, I'm sure they were like so distraught by it. But then when they came back, I had told my mom and my family, like, I don't want people in the hospital with me. I just want my immediate family. I don't want aunts and uncles, and I
Uh,
don't want the,
the whole extended family in there.
it's just
I hear
too
you.
overstimulating.
I
I
hear
think
you.
it's like, yeah, and it's just like too much for me when
Hmm.
I could, you know, and I was at the time, like, I was still not able to like speak that great. And like, I just like didn't want people to see me like, you know, it's just, it wasn't my thing. And
Impacted. Yeah,
so,
I hear you. Yeah, it makes
yeah,
complete sense. Well,
um,
firstly, it's hard. We're the same. Like my family, Greek family, like everybody was there. Everybody actually came. And I didn't have the opportunity to think about that because I went from, being two brain hemorrhages in within 6 weeks. That's a little bit, but upright. But see, two brain hemorrhages, but upright in some kind of a strange way. So when people saw me, they didn't really have the deep desire to completely overwhelm us with love. They were just, oh,
mhm,
okay, uh, he looks all right. Like, mustn't be that bad. But then after the
mhm,
brain surgery, when they find out that I can't walk and, my head has got a massive scar on it and I'm in hospital and I'm lying down, well, now they can see that that's more dramatic than what the two brain hemorrhages looked like early on. It looked way more dramatic. So they all came. And I didn't have the opportunity those first few days to think about who do I want there. And they were all there.
mhm,
My wife was overwhelmed. I was overwhelmed. And it took about 2 or 3 days before I realized we can't have that many people in the room. It's way too many people.
mhm.
We can't be dealing with everyone else's emotional baggage that they bring
Yeah,
without knowing that they're bringing it and making it
yeah,
burdensome. They don't know.
yeah.
They come for the right reasons, but it's the wrong time to turn up for the right reasons. You need to come later.
Right. And my best friend actually said, she said this to me multiple times afterwards. She's like, I I just know you, and I know that you wouldn't want me to come in anyways. Because I remember my mom had said something like, "Why don't you just come anyways, even though she doesn't want?" And she didn't, and I'm glad she didn't because she knew me.
Properly, yeah.
Whereas my mom was more of like, I just want people around her. Maybe it's going to make her feel better. You know, you don't, she doesn't, you
Mm.
don't understand it unless you're in the hospital bed.
Mm.
And then when I was having my stroke, there were people that were around me, but I mean,
You didn't
they
know
said that
anyway.
I was, no, I didn't even know. And so I don't have memories of those people being there, but um they were just like, I mean, they all had said like it was really terrible. I'm like, yeah, it's not great. It's not really like what I don't want people to like remember that time. But it's yeah.
That's cool. I totally get it. So you're back into the land of the living. Everything is going great. As far as the medical stuff is all behind you, the actual critical, urgent, acute medical stuff is all behind you. How does life evolve now into what you're doing now, into how it's got you to where you are today? So I heard you say a little earlier that you're back at work. So tell me a little bit about that transition from bedroom after the hospital bedroom downstairs to outside world.
Oh, I think I was determined by the time I got home. I was like determined, like I will get upstairs. I will get back into my room. I will do these things. I will drive again. And those were my goals. I was like, that was I set my sights on it. And I was like, even if I'm gonna be struggling up and down the stairs, I'm still gonna be doing it. And so I moved back upstairs when it was very difficult for me to go up and down the stairs, but I could do it safely with my handrails, and I was still wearing my AFO, and I was like, I could do it. It takes a lot out of me to just go up and down the stairs, but I'm gonna do it. And I did. Um, and same thing for the driving thing. I now drive with my left foot. I have my pedals are reversed on my car now, and I have like a little
Knob.
steering knob. Yeah. And that was really exciting. So once that happened, once I got back into my car, which was last fall, it was like September um 2024. I was like, the minute I am able to drive around, I'm going back to work. So I was like, even if it's too soon, I'm doing it, and I will figure things out when I get back to work. Once I'm in the job, if I need little leeways here and there, I know that they're gonna be there for me. Let's just go, because because I think you can say like, oh, well, I don't know if it's time yet. And it's like, you're never going to know when the time is. You're just going to jump in the deep end, right? And so I also was, oh my gosh, was that? I think it was last summer as well. Yeah, it was last summer as well. So I was 2024. I also ditched the the brace and a device on my leg, that BNS device that helps me walk. And I was able to up and down the neighborhood. I can I can do more.
So
So
it sounds like you're
I was like,
driving.
I don't, yeah,
So we're having a
yeah.
little bit of
It
a connection issue. It sounds like the
oh
driving was your I'm back moment. It sounds like that was the kind of defining moment. You got into the car, you became independent again, and you were going to find a way to overcome all the other stuff as well.
yeah. I was like, once I'm driving, I feel like I got a sense of my like life back. Like I was able to like go to therapy by myself, like, or because I was doing outpatient therapy as well, and I was like, it was it was crazy, and so I felt like, okay, I had my independence back. um so I went back to work in last October, and it was a it was a transition. It was difficult, but it was great. And um, I could have asked for shorter days, but I didn't. They were all 8-hour days. And I was like, if I just knew that the way my work is, they're just so accommodating for anything and anyone really. So I just knew that like if I needed a shorter day, they would help me. If I needed to work less days, they would help me. Um, and so
Has your role remained the same?
my role has been, yeah, it's the same now. Um, I am able to, um, I can write and I can cut, and the way I my writing, it looks nice, but it doesn't look like my writing. You know what I mean? Like it's gonna take me some more time, but I can do the work at work for it.
Mm.
And yeah, and it took me a while to like be able to like get on ladders, and a lot of, we work with like a lot of boxes, and sometimes heavy boxes,
Mm.
and but there's always people around. So if I really needed someone to like help me with anything, I could. But now I feel like I'm at a good place where like I really don't need people to help me.
Yeah, that's excellent.
Um,
What is what have you
yeah.
what have you learned about yourself during this time? What has stroke taught you, or the
Oh
heart
my
condition taught
gosh.
you, or everything that you've been through taught you? My gosh, there's so many things that you've been through. What do they taught? What are some of the lessons?
You know, it's funny too because I was listening to one of your vlogs that you had put up, and you said something that I've always said to my mom, is that this stroke has been the worst and best thing that's ever happened to me. I don't think I would have known a sliver of how strong I am until I went through this. I have this like, listen, I still have my bad days. This
Yeah.
is not like, I'm not saying that I don't have bad days, because there are
Uh-huh.
days.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and there's a lot of things that I still have to work on, but I am I am capable of doing so much more than I thought I would have ever been able to even think about doing. So it's been really eye-opening,
So you've
especially for my
changed
age as
as a
well.
person. You've changed as a person as well. So
Mhm.
how have you changed as a person?
I think I don't I don't have the trying to say it like kind of nicely. There's
Mm-hmm.
I don't have the time for any of the BS.
Mm-hmm.
You know
Mm-hmm.
what I'm talking about?
I
I
totally
don't
know.
have Yeah, like I don't have that in my brain where I'm like, that doesn't matter. It's not for me. It's not. I think when you go through things like we both have been through, you're like that so little in this big world. Like I um
It sounds like your focus
yeah.
has changed from the little things to the more important things, whatever they are for you.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, even if something for me is to like go out with, like, go buy tickets to a concert or something, it's what's making me happy right now. And it's not, I think you kind of get stuck in this like, oh, well, is this um should I be doing this, or should I be saving my money for this, or should I be doing this, or should I be worrying about the next thing that's going to happen. And I feel like with a stroke, you're just kind of like, no, you're just going to, you have no guarantee. There's no guarantee like for anything. So it's like, who cares? Like go and
Yeah, there has to
spend
be
the
a part
money
of
or
that.
whatever.
I agree. I agree. There's a part of me that's like, all right, save for a rainy day, but
Mm,
save for just a few of them, not for 1,000 rainy days, right? Just save for a
yeah.
few rainy days so that you get into the habit of not blowing every single dollar you made the last week, which
Yeah.
is cool. But also, um, experiences, I think it is for me. Like it's about experiences and people. So if you give me your time, oh my gosh, like I'll do anything for somebody who gives me their time. I value
Mhm.
time more than I've ever valued it. And that really is something that I see as being the only true uh riches. The only true riches is time, how much
Yeah.
time we have.
Mhm.
And we don't know how much time we have, so that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, which like experiences, can we have this experience? Like say it's a traveling overseas experience. It's like, well, we could do it on a budget, which means we still travel overseas, we still see that place, thing, those people, or we can do it 5 star all the way, um, which we'll never be able to do. We'd be broke in no time, and we wouldn't be able to experience anything else after we came back from that event. So for me, it's like going, all right, how can I do what I want to do? How can I have that experience in a way that supports me, what I want out of it, and allows us to also be able to buy food next week or tomorrow or whatever. And
Mhm.
that before, I used to be in this pattern of we can't go anywhere, we can't do anything because uh, something might happen down the track. And then if we are not, 5 years ahead on our mortgage or 10 years ahead on our mortgage or any of that stuff, well, it's going to be all ridiculous and terrible. And oh my God, we can't spend any money on anything. And then I got the sickest you could possibly get. Things were so terrible. Everything was so bad for such a long time, for at least 3 years for us. And even though I had created that buffer of if something goes wrong, I want to be okay for 10 years without working if necessary. Even though I created a buffer like that, it actually meant nothing because
Mhm.
I didn't know whether I would be here tomorrow or the next day. So, oh, fantastic. You don't have to work for 10 years or forever. You might never work ever. You might not come out of the hospital after your brain surgery. So it's like, it meant nothing. Things didn't seem to have the importance that I imagined in my head that they needed to have. Now, I'm not saying that a lot of people don't have a different experience than us. They definitely do. And I get everyone has a different way of approaching that. But for me, it helped me break down some negative thinking patterns and barriers where I was missing out on life while trying to preserve my life if my life went wrong. It was backwards. It didn't make sense. I wasn't living for my life right now while I was in it. I was preparing for a life I wouldn't be living, kind of thing. It's so weird. I don't know. It's so weird. I can't explain it. But like you,
Yeah.
yeah, I look at opportunity to have an experience as something that I need to make happen rather than not make happen.
Yeah, it was it does put this like perspective in you and you're like, I can't get rid of that perspective anymore.
Mm.
There's no way of like going back to the way I thought before. So it, yeah, like I said, like to put the nice nice way, like there's no room for that type of thinking of you we're just never promised anything. So
Mm.
it's just better to like at least have some time to have fun while we're here. Um,
One of the
yeah.
things that was really cool recently is somebody was watching one of the interviews I was doing, I think, or maybe one of my vlogs, while they were in hospital recovering from a stroke.
Yeah, I heard that one that you were telling me that well, your video was telling me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did hear that. I thought that was so cool because because you were kind of saying like the way that you in the hospital and you were already thinking of doing this podcast basically in one
Yeah.
way or another.
I had rolled
And
out of
like,
I had rolled out of surgery. Couldn't walk the first day of not walking. They hung me up on a on a device where I was attached to the ceiling so that my feet are touching the ground, but I'm not at risk of falling or collapsing or anything like that. It's to take the weight off of the therapists so they're not holding my body up while I'm trying to learn how to walk again. And we knew then that things were pretty serious. I couldn't walk, and they needed to put me in a month of or 2 months of rehab they were going to put me into. So I've been going through this after 7 days of being in the hospital in recovery. Day one of therapy was moving me just from hospital to the therapy room. And while they were putting me through, I go through this door, and on the top of the door it says the transit lounge. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool. I've been to transit lounges before. They were all for a trip overseas or somewhere exotic that I hadn't been before. This one was a little bit weird. The name of the room was a bit bizarre, but I knew what it meant for me was I'm going from where I don't want to be, where recovery has sort of paused, it's not happening much more, to a place where recovery is going to continue and I'm going to get better. And I thought, wow, that's cool. And that became the first name of my podcast. And it was the Transit Lounge podcast when I first started. And that podcast um, was about 10 or 20, was about 20 episodes. I interviewed people who weren't stroke survivors. We were talking about recovering from something serious. And when we got uh, to the end of that, I didn't feel right about it. And then I realized I should be interviewing stroke survivors. And then the Recovery After Stroke podcast happened. And I don't know, I cannot remember how I joined the dots between about 2015 when the podcast started, middle of 2015, somewhere there, to November 2014, where I saw that lot sign and said, oh, that's a cool name for a door, for a room. I had no idea how I connected the dots and then turned it into a podcast, but it was happening in my mind. And I was doing a lot of those things in my mind um, that helped me with my recovery. One of those things I was also doing was I was imagining myself walk. I mentioned that in the vlog,
mhm.
and didn't know exactly how that was helping, but I know that it was firing off the same neurons as if you're walking. So that was like, oh, in my downtime, without any physical effort, I can create pathways and reroute and get it all
I
going.
I wish I would have had that video of you talking like that when I was in the hospital.
Mm,
So that makes me so happy that someone was in the hospital that was hearing that.
mm,
I really wish I would have heard that because for me, I've always been such a walker and I've I've I just walk like multiple times a day and I love it. I can't get enough of it.
mm,
And the fact that you have this thing that is taken away from you in a split second, and now you have to work so hard to just get it somewhat back. You can't even, so it was really hard for me when I was like not able to like go on walks. I worked really hard. And the first time that I walked without my brace. I was on Halloween and like I'll never forget it because we went at night to walk around the street and I was like I'm not wearing my brace anymore. My brace was like pinching me and it was just like I'm just like I'm so over this. Like I want to walk more and um yeah, you just I think also like I have so many, and I remember in the hospital too, I had dreams of me walking. And so that made me like think
Yes.
it was crazy when you said that on the
Yeah.
vlog. I was like, whoa, that's crazy. I wonder if that was actually
100%.
right. That's so
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah. You've woken up from dreams before and felt like it was a real experience. Well,
Yeah.
that's why, because you're actually living your your mind, your body, your soul, your spirit, everything is experiencing that dream as if it's actually happening. The fact that you're unconscious in sleep and you're in a bed matters not. The same parts of the brain are firing, the neurons are firing, the neural pathways are wiring up. It's all happening, right? And that's the thing I
Mhm.
wanted to ask you about. Like, what we might be chatting about this right now, but there could be a stroke survivor listening right now who's in the hospital bed. What would you say to them?
I I think that I was under the impression that I would be like healed at some point. And now it's 2025. I'm approaching my 2 year mark. And you had said something in one of your vlogs, and that really stuck with me, is that you, especially now, like in where I'm at right now, I still wear my device on my leg every day. But you can't really tell that I'm wearing pants too. You won't see it. You and I'm not I'm not using a cane unless it's like nighttime or if I'm really tired, then I'll use my cane. It doesn't really look like anything happened to me. I talk, you wouldn't know that I had lost my speech. You wouldn't have known any of that. And you had said fully healed, but with scars.
Mm,
And but I don't see the scars being, and I don't think that you meant it in this way either, but I think a lot of people think like scars, like it's a bad thing,
oh
but
yeah,
I
no.
see it as a good thing. These
Yeah, yeah.
are, these are like, we want these scars because you'll never forget the things that you have went through with these scars.
Hmm.
Even when you look like you're fully healed. And when people say, like, when people ask, like, oh my gosh, how are you doing? Okay, so, and they do say that, they're like, okay, so you're fully healed. And I'm like, yeah, like, like, sure. Because I think, like you had said in one of your vlogs, I think a lot of people say, like, they just want to hear you say, and that's fine. Because I know that there are certain people that like want to ask more questions, and then I will tell them like,
Yeah.
no, I'm not fully healed. I don't know if it will ever happen, but like for right now, like this is what's going on, and but I'm doing really good. Like there's probably no healing, but
Mhm.
for most people, I just say, yeah, fully healed.
I- I'll qualify a little bit what I meant by that because you're right about what I meant is that I actually have a physical scar on my head. Everyone's
Yes,
because I wear my hair really, really short, like a number one. Everyone sees it all the time, and it's not
yes,
why I wear my hair a number one, but um, they see it. So there's that. Then there's emotional scars that are there,
yes.
and let me tell you, when I did the book launch, I'm in a room. There's about 40 people there. I I was supposed to do a 20-minute speech. I cried about 4 times, and it was like, oh my gosh, I didn't plan for this in my speech. It's ruining the flow. But it's heartwarming, and people kind of probably made them buy an extra book or something. I don't know. So it was okay. So that little emotional thing, I didn't realize it was there until I got up to do this presentation in front of friends, family, loved ones, people who came to support me. And it just came out of nowhere. So the trauma that I went through is basically has been dealt with. But
There's a little niggling bit that needs to come out every so often and say, hey, remember me? And I'm like, okay, I remember you. And then there is the mental scars as well. So again, healed from them, but I had to grapple with, I'm not going to be here maybe tomorrow. I don't know if I've said the things I need to say to my family, to my friends, to my wife, to my children. Oh my gosh, I haven't got time. I need to get all that stuff done and sorted. And then I think my healing really started to take the a turn to the next level where things started to improve a lot, despite my pain, despite my numbness, despite falling over, despite not being able to work the same as I did before. When I started doing stuff for other people, helping people, I didn't realize it at the time. It was a little bit selfish when I started this whole podcast and book thing and everything because um, I wanted to use what I'd learned and the people that I met to help me, which was cool, right? Because I was at least advocating for myself, and at least I was um, leading my own recovery. I was in charge of it somehow, right? There was other people involved, doctors, therapists. They were all involved, but I was leading the charge. But then when people reached back through the podcast comments on the YouTube video or from the book and said, this really helped me, I don't know, that just took everything to the next level. That made my whole experience, that really tough stuff that we had to go through, worth going through. I don't do that kind of stuff normally. That's not what I do. I used to do
Yeah.
all selfish stuff. It was all about me, 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 me. How much money am I going to make? What car I'm going to drive, and how many houses I'm going to have, and all this stuff. And now all those ideas went away. They went away. They fizzled. And I'm content. I have contentment, which is a gift that I've never had before.
Oh my gosh, yes. That's such a good way to describe it. Like the contentment. I think because I also have a scar, but you can't really see it because I have
Mm,
hair.
mm.
It likes to pop out every once in a while, but yes. Um,
On a bad
but
hair
yeah,
day.
yeah. Um, yeah, I I also think like when we go back to if we can come back to what to tell people too,
Mm,
I also think that like the it was the first, I think it was the okay. So it was the September after I got home from the hospital. So I got home from the hospital in June, right? In September, I had purchased about a year in advance. Um, well, I purchased Coldplay tickets with my best friend, and the pandemic happened,
mm,
and then they canceled their tour. And they were like, but we'll keep the tickets because when we come to LA, we'll let you have first pick, like where you want to seat. And so we're like, okay. So it just happened that, right, it was probably the month before my stroke happened that we were like, we got in, we got tickets, it's coming, it's in September. And I was like, I'm not missing that concert. I waited for that concert. And it was also like, it was going to be special because it's my best friend's favorite
bang.
artist. And so I was like, I'm going to go. It's going to be really challenging for me, especially because I was still wearing my brace and it was at the Hollywood Bowl, which if you're familiar, it's just not, it's old, it's muddy where we had to park. It was a lot. It was a lot. And then there was a lot of people because
Mm,
everyone was stoked that it was only there for like 2 nights too, and they were going to go overseas. So it was a lot. People were bumping into me. I got home, and while I had a great time, I got home and I just collapsed and like bawled my eyes out because it was just so overstimulating. But I'm so glad I did it
mm.
because the next concert I had was like 2 months later, and I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm going to do it because it was really traumatizing, but I'm going to do it again. And it was so much better the next time I went. So I feel like a lot of people that are sitting in their hospital beds maybe right now where they've gone through their stroke and they don't think that they can do things, like you can do things. We can do it. Like you might have to change your seats. You might have to, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be a concert, but I think like, and also for me, like I'm such an introvert too, to like go to a concert, it's just already overstimulating. But then with the stroke, it's like so much more overstimulating. But I got little earplugs and I had like a little safe zones like planned out. Like, okay, if I need to go and like have like some quieter time, I'm gonna go over there. Like, or whatever it is. Like I like made little plans to make sure that I was gonna be in the safest environment for me to also like live my life though. Like I'm not gonna say no to things.
You have to
And I don't
face your
think that
fears.
yeah, and I don't think people should say no to anything, like especially when it's really hard to it's really hard to like say that you're gonna get up and do all your exercises and do all of your word scrambling and little things that I have to, that I've done. And it's hard to like get up and be like, okay, I have to do this today. I have to do this. Like there's no negotiation. Like I need to go for a walk today because it's going to help me because then I'm not going to be as stiff. My spasticity is not going to be as stiff the next day. And it's just,
I
yeah.
love it. I love it. I don't know who said it, so I'm not going to be able to credit them. But on the social somewhere, I picked up this video where the guy was saying, do something for yourself today that your future self is going to thank you for. And it's like,
Yeah.
okay, I love that. I love doing it for my future self because my future self really appreciates all the hard work that I did today. And it sounds like they're two different people, and they almost are. They almost are two different people, but we
Mhm.
benefit together. And the person who's doing the hard stuff might really hate it, but Bill of the future is so glad that I did the hard stuff when
Right?
I had to do it. Yeah,
Yeah.
I love it. So, um, you said you're an introvert. You,
Mhm.
I don't get that. I don't get that. Is it just a tendency where you prefer quiet time, alone time, that type of stuff?
Yes, I prefer quiet time, alone time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But um I also just I think because I also worked when I was younger, I worked at Disneyland. And so when I worked at Disneyland, that I was they push you to like get out of your shell. And
Ah,
I really wanted to stay working there. So, and I think that kind of helped me. That was like a long time ago, but um and then now like the place that I work now, very extroverts. And so I can go in and turn it on, but I
uh-huh.
definitely have to go to my car and take my break in silence. I think also like the for me, like the biggest things that get me on a daily day-to-day basis is the fatigue
Mm,
and the overstimulation
mm,
of anything and everything, even if like certain lights or even if it's just like a lawnmower going in the backyard or something like I just like can't there's certain times of the day or like whatever it is and then fatigue just you don't know when that's going to happen. It's just going to happen whenever it feels like because it's like sometimes you think like I'm going to beat the fatigue. Like I can do this. Like I can I can take a little easy here and then I can but it no. There's no I think like a traumatic brain injury, you can't beat the fatigue.
no.
And that's I have to keep learning that and to say that out loud because I
It will
know it's
beat you
difficult.
down. You can
Yeah.
test it and you can push the limits of it a little bit,
Mm.
but then it's like, nah, even me, I've been at this for 13 years now. I come home sometimes at say 3:30 or 4 p.m. and I've got a list of emails, stuff to do, and my brain's going, "You're not getting any of that done today. Absolutely none of it. Don't even think about it. Sit down and do nothing. Otherwise, we're not going to have a good day tomorrow." And then the fatigue wins. But I've come to terms with it. I think introversion is actually a really good skill, because when you're comfortable being on on your own and with yourself and having quiet time, well, you've practiced it for so many years, you know how to do that really well and switch it on. Whereas I'm not like that. I was always out and about with somebody doing something. I'm a total extrovert. So then when it came to alone time and me time, it felt weird. It felt weird. Oh, okay, I'm alone. And all right, what now? This is boring, and I can't occupy myself, and I can't stimulate myself. I've got to get out and about. And that's where I struggled. I struggled with the fact that even in hospital, after the first bleed, my doctors and nurses were looking for me because I was never in my hospital bed. I was never in the bed.
Oh, funny.
And they're like, "You are not well. There is a blood vessel bleeding in your brain. You have to be in your bed." And I'm like, "No, everything's fine." I would meet up with people at the cafe. Um, we would chat. They would send search parties down to the cafe to look for me so they can take me back up to do blood tests, scans, all that kind of stuff. So I, I see introversion in this scenario as like being a skill that gives you guys the opportunity to really give yourself that time of, no, I don't want people around. I don't want noises. I just want it to be me, quiet place. I always felt like I wasn't productive enough.
No, but that's so true. But then I will say, like, although, like, I'm also the type of person that, like, I can't just sit still. Like, I need to be doing something.
Hmm.
And I think that's why, like, I like gardening, I like walking,
Uh,
I like going out with my dog. Like, I, I'm introverted, but I'm also like, if I'm sitting and watching like a movie or something, I'm working on my hand, like I'm working with my hands. I'm cutting paper. I'm doing like art or something
okay.
because I can't just sit still.
You're
And I think
occupied.
that, yeah, I need to be occupied. But that also in turn like doesn't really help me when I'm like supposed to be resting.
Mm, mm.
And I'm like already thinking, I'm like, okay, I have to do this. Okay, then I'll do that when I'm rested. And it's like I'm trying to lay in bed, but I'm already like making lists of all the things that I can do this week. And so it probably doesn't really help that I'm like not great at like resting, but yes, I can be by myself alone.
Mm.
No problem.
Yeah, I love it. Well, hey, I really appreciate reaching out. Thank you for sharing your story. It is a wonderful story of overcoming and recovery and moving forward. And thanks for following my vlogs and, yeah, supporting me the way that you have. It's brilliant, and I look forward to hearing how things evolve from here, and how life improves further.
I am too. I do want to like leave I guess the audience with this. Um when I got home from the hospital, it was really hard for me to find anyone like me that have gone through a similar thing, any type of stroke, or at least, any kind of stroke, or I would have loved to find like a hemorrhagic stroke, um, person that was like posting like day in the life of how, like, healing from, I couldn't find it. It was really hard. Um, and then if I do find it, they're not in my area. So I don't have people that around me that have that similar interest. But I found it online when I started posting videos on myself. And I got so many messages over like, I think it was like one or two posts
Most.
on TikTok And I had so many people like say like, "Oh my God, I'm a hemorrhagic stroke survivor as well," like blah blah blah, or or whatever, even ischemic stroke, or and it was like so crazy the amount of people that reached out to me and they were like, "Oh, thank you for posting this. This is so cool. I'm so surprised you can do this," or like whatever it is. And I was like, "Okay, this is cool." And I had this like similar thing that you kind of had where it was like, "Oh, wow, I really love this, but it's also like helping me as well." Like it's like very selfish, but like it is true. Like it makes me feel so good when I'm like, I can't, I didn't find it for myself, but I'm gonna be it for someone else. And I think that like there's so many people that have strokes younger and younger right now. And they've told me this in the hospital. They were like, we're seeing more and more like younger people with strokes. And it was really hard for me to find people. So I was like, I'm gonna break that wall, or at least like maybe I wasn't looking hard enough or whatever, but it's like you need it because I think like your podcast is so there's so many episodes of people
Yeah, nearly
you wouldn't even
350.
right? It's crazy. Like,
Yeah.
and when I found out I found I was like, oh my gosh, look at all these people that have had different types of stroke. I was like, and it's so lovely to have someone different podcasts, but they all say the same type of things that I went through.
Mm.
And it's something that's like, oh my gosh, it's very meaningful. It
Mm.
really is. So I also had like this little quote that I have been telling myself that I kind of like remind myself every day that the toughest gems are the hardest to mine.
Mhm.
And I really feel like when you go through any type of stroke, I feel like you feel that you feel that like the whatever it is that you had to get back to give you like a little semblance of your regular life, like it's really hard, but it's so rewarding. Um,
Yeah.
and I appreciate I appreciate you and I appreciate the things that you're doing. And I can't wait to listen to more podcasts
Thank you. I'm gonna,
and vlogs.
yeah, thank you so much. I'm definitely be following your journey on TikTok. We're gonna have the show notes. Anyone who wants to connect with you will be able to go and connect with you. Community is so important. I was missing that. I created the same thing. And that's the part of it. Like that's what our responsibility is. You need to create your own community the way that you're comfortable doing, in the format that you want to do it, and then people will be attracted to that because it's you, because you're unique in the way that you tell your story. Even though we are um, stroke survivors and we've had similar things, we're totally different. There's the only thing we have in common is stroke, but also then we also have the understanding in common of each other. It's like, okay. And
Yeah.
that's what you can imagine the amount of people that I've spoken to, the different political views, the different ideological views and all that kind of stuff. I've never spoken about that at all. I'm not interested in any of that. I'm just interested in people's stroke journeys, what happened to them, their recovery, how they're fighting back, how they're overcoming, what they're learning along the way, because they all help me. And every episode, I get something out of. Every person I interview, I get something out of. And I am glad that there's more people talking about it because I can't be the only voice. Like there's just not, it's not, it's not diverse enough for me
Mhm.
to be the only guy talking about stroke. I can't represent um, women. I can't represent people from different socioeconomic backgrounds. I can only represent me the way that I experienced it, and that's what I love. I'm even having um, meetings with people now online for half an hour who have reached out and said, "Oh, how do I start a podcast? Or what can I do?" I try to fit in if somebody asks me, how do I do it? Because I want to know, I want to make sure that none of us, former stroke survivors and unfortunately stroke survivors to come, are without information. And I don't want them to go through all the tough stuff that we all went through that we can avoid. If we can avoid some of the tough stuff on their journey, if we can help with that, then I think that's a great thing. The rest, we can make space for them to discover and overcome on their own, so
Yeah.
thanks again. I really appreciate it. This has been an amazing chat. We've been
Thank
going
you,
for more
Bill.
than an hour and a
Yeah,
half,
it's been
and it's
great.
just gone like
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
It's brilliant.
No,
All right.
but thank you very much. I was so looking forward to this. I was so looking forward to this. So thank you. I'm so grateful for you.
Well, that's it for another episode of the Recovery After Stroke podcast. Some stories don't resolve neatly. They keep unfolding, and Alyssa's is one of them. She's back at work, she's driving, she's walking with support, but she's also still exhausted, still navigating deficits, still waking up some days needing more time to function than the world expects. And yet she's showing up for herself, for others, and now for this community. If you're in a season where progress feels invisible, let Alyssa's story be proof that healing isn't about going back. It's about becoming someone new, someone stronger, softer, more aware of what really matters. Thanks again to Bioness for supporting this episode. For anyone listening who might be dealing with foot drop, there's actually a way to try the Bioness device in a free 1-hour trial, just to see if it's the right fit for you. Bioness offers trial days at different locations across the United States. Just call to schedule a time. We'll catch you in the next episode.
Importantly, we present many podcasts designed to give you an insight and understanding into the experiences of other individuals. Opinions and treatment protocols discussed during any podcast are the individual's own experience, and we do not necessarily share the same opinion, nor do we recommend any treatment protocol discussed. All content on this website and any linked blog, podcast, or video material controlled this website or content is created and produced for informational purposes only and is largely based on the personal experience of Bill Gassiamis. The content is intended to complement your medical treatment and support healing. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice and should not be relied on as health advice. The information is general and may not be suitable for your personal injuries, circumstances, or health objectives. Do not use our content as a standalone resource to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease for therapeutic purposes or as a substitute for the advice of a health professional. Never delay seeking advice or disregard the advice of a medical professional, your doctor, or your rehabilitation program based on our content. If you have any questions or concerns about your health or medical condition, please seek guidance from a doctor or other medical professional. If you are experiencing a health emergency or think you might be, call 000 if in Australia, or your local emergency number immediately for emergency assistance, or go to the nearest hospital emergency department. Medical information changes constantly. While we aim to provide current, quality information in our content, we do not provide any guarantees and assume no legal liability or responsibility for the accuracy, currency, or completeness of the content. If you choose to rely on any information within our content, you do so solely at your own risk. We are careful with links we provide. However, third-party links from our website are followed at your own risk, and we are not responsible for any information you find there.